this was before people were commercializing their hardcore media. So, so I had experience. So when I started with the company, it was called Caesar Video.
Caesar
Out
Video.
of Caesar Video out of the Bronx. The owner and president was a guy by the name of Charles Stone, who was the one of the managers of Al's Wedge in the Bronx, and uh, the Point is an area in the Bronx made famous in a documentary called on HBO called Hookers at the Point, and this is in Bronx, New York. And so the Point, Al's Wedge, is literally at the apex point of the wedge makes up the apex of the point, literally. So I got started with Charles, who started his company with Caesar Video in 96, 97. And the first time I was made very, very comfortable by the company and by the producers. The girl that I worked with, she was hot, she was beautiful. It wasn't her first scene, and I mean, she was by no way like a seasoned veteran, but she had had a few scenes, so she was able to make me comfortable because she had been there before, or had shot before. So um, um, it was a nice situation, a nice circumstance. Very much, I liken it. The best illustration to convey the how it went down was very much like that people are familiar with Boogie Nights with Mark Wahlberg portraying the character that in actuality was John Holmes, although they used Dirk Diggler was a synonym. He was actually portraying John Holmes. For those that will remember that first scene that he did in front of Burt Reynolds, where everybody's on one side of the room with the cameras facing head towards the action, and everybody, the director sitting right there in a high director's chair, literally went down just like that. So, in many ways, people would be surprised how accurately reality has been portrayed in some of the movies, and vice versa. Um, so it was very much like that, where my revealing myself in front of these people shooting the camera was not something that was unfamiliar to me because I had been doing magazines.
Right, right, right. How many
And
magazines have you been featured in?
I would say at that point maybe 6 or 7, because one of my mentors was a guy by the name of Nevin Washington out of Brooklyn. And he was the former art director of a number of magazines, whether it was Black Tail, which was the most popular one, Black Legs, um, and I can't recall that maybe 2 or 3, or maybe 2. He had 4 black magazines that he was art director for. So I shot for all of his magazines. I shot for High Society, Hustler, and these were all hardcore shoots. Now, when I say hardcore shoots, um, the penetration was simulated, but I was right there at the point of penetration. I wasn't like in there, but I was like right there, and then they would take the shot. So that's what it was back in the mid '90s. So for video, the nervousness um, was about not coming. See what I'm saying? The anxiety didn't exist because I was familiar with being on camera. I was nervous because in a photo shoot, your only concern is maintaining your erection to simulate pre-insertion, if you will, right? You're
Right.
not really inserting, nor are you actually fucking. The nervousness came from now, not only do I have to present ability to execute, but I actually have to go through the deed. Now, you know, The only thing that made it a little bit easier, ironically, was that the difficulty, the challenges was new pussy, right?
Right.
But the reality that made it easier to, or the challenge less daunting, was now I had no option to make sure I held my water. See what I'm saying? Because if you're just fucking around doing a party, you can come when you feel like it. But
Right.
now I'm at my coming is at the direction of the producer director 10 feet 10 15 feet away from me.
Right.
So that made it a lot more easy for me to keep my myself in line. But yeah, so it was challenging. I was prepared for it. But I would say that I was introduced in the best way that a guy could be introduced. It was a very remembering it. I have very, very fond memories of it because I know how these situations could be, but the environment that Charles Sohn created, the caliber of production was on par with what was happening in Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? And it was one of the things where, as a black producer and director and owner that Charles Sohn is and had been at that time, his productions could have been competitive with the stuff coming out of Los Angeles, directly competitive. Because when I got to Los Angeles, the only reason why I was able to do so well from the very beginning was the preparation that I had from working with Caesar Video.
Cool. No, listen, right. Good answers, man. I like what we're talking about right now. Listen, right. I know this for a true actual fact about you, Lex. You're more of a titty guy than an ass guy, right? You like big titties, huh?
Well, yeah, I'm a breast man. Yeah. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like fat ass, but you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I'm a breast
guy. I am too, man. It's either you're an ass guy or a titty guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you know what? And as I've gotten older,
listen. If you do both, if you're a guy that likes both, then that's a plus. You know what I'm saying? For the
nah. You know what? I would say this: you're a guy that likes both. That means you don't like either enough.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Like a breast guy could have titties and with a girl with no ass, and an ass guy could have a girl with an ass and no breast. That's my. Now, as I've gotten older, I've learned this leg thing. You know, I really when I was younger, I was like, how are legs comparable to the attribute of breasts or a fat ass? You know what I'm saying? You know, and a lot of people fail to make the distinction between FAT and PHAT. And I think as black men, we always understood that there was a distinction between FAT and PHT. So, enjoying that distinction, I had an appreciation for fat ass, but I just like big ass titties. You know what I'm saying? And then, so the leg thing, I'm getting now more or less, but for those that are leg men, more power to them. But it's just like, okay, that wasn't my thing either.
Right. So next question is: so in the industry, how long you been in the industry? How many years? Like over 19 years, maybe 20 years?
Oh yeah, easily. Like, well, okay, so when people count my years in the business, it generally begins at 98. So
98.
Yeah, so I went from 98 to 2019, giving me 21 years. And then I came back in 22. So I've been about a year back in since then.
So you've been in the industry that many years. So how many women on set, on film, and the many scenes you've done, how many women have you easily been in bed with, like in the industry? And what was that experience like? That's every man's fantasy, to be with multiple women. You know what I'm saying? That knows what they do in the bed, that knows how to please a man. And like it's just something that every man has got to accomplish in their life. You know what I'm saying?
Well, okay, so mathematically, it's it's difficult for me to give a number from the standpoint that I stopped counting. Probably, I think I counted for the first year or two, and then it just became, it just, I lost count or I stopped counting. So I couldn't give if I was given an assessment of how many women I've worked with in my lifetime, I would say that it is probably less than 1,000, but probably more than 800. And the reason why I come up with that number is mathematically, it would probably come in between somewhere between 800 and 1,000. The reason why I would hesitate to say any more than 1,000 is if you could physically imagine 1,000 people in your mind, I personally cannot validate that I've slept with that many people. Because if you just look at even 100 people,
That's a lot of people alone.
it's a lot of people alone. So it's just like, here's the reason why I say it like this is this. All these purported numbers of like, was it Will Chamberlain say he did 20,000 women? Well, maybe he did. Maybe he did. But let me tell you something.
Hey, listen, right? Listen. So that's what's up, man. So what
My thing is, not to cut you off, but my thing is I would rather err on the side of underrepresenting the number that I've done. You know what I'm saying? Because if I would say, oh, I've done 12, let me tell you something. 1,000 women is a lot of people, and not for nothing. And in all honesty, if my numbers were if I exaggerated my numbers, or if my numbers were in the thousands, quite honestly, I probably would not be here. Just mathematically alone. Look, I've tested every single month since December of 1996. You know what I'm saying?
1996. So back
1996.
so to this day in this generation, do adult performers, including both males and females, do they have to test every day, or like it's like every week in a month?
No. If like I would say for my first 10 years, it was only once a month.
Once a month.
And then it became 14-day, which means you had to test twice. So the last 10 years have been twice a month. My first 10 years have been once a month, right? And so just mathematically, I don't think that my numbers would have exceeded 1,000 people, because the fact that I'm 100% healthy would probably be a lot more difficult to have maintained if my numbers were ludicrous. So I don't think my number. See, the thing about it is like, true, a lot of my scenes were with different girls. Like with me, typically I didn't, circle back and work with the same women again and again and again and again. My positioning in the industry allowed me to have the luxury of working with all of the top girls that did interracial.
Right. And you did a lot of interracial scenes. Just since you mentioned that, you know what I'm saying? What if they were white, Italian, European, Asian, Hawaiian, or Russian, whatever the race was. So do you like work with more white girls, Asian girls, black girls? Which type of women did you with which ethnicity did you like the most?
Okay, it's twofold. First, for my own company, and my company's Mercenary Pictures, which I established in 2003. So I always shot within my product line. I always had black on black, interracial. Now the reason why I make that distinction is because when I was doing stuff for my own companies, I always shot black on black. So I was working with sisters. I was working when I was doing interracial, I was with white girls, Asian, Latina. When I worked with companies outside of my own label, typically was always interracial. The West Coast Productions and Video Team were companies that maintained black on black lines, which I did a lot of work for. So including my own. But numerically, it was primarily interracial white girls, and then for my own stuff, it was about 50-50 um, and then for what I did for West Coast and Video Team.
Right.